if you generally have the competence to rig this up, then yeah, I say give it a try. It's kind of fun and interesting, really. You might ultimately not like it in the end, but it's not the huge sacrifice it cost. In fact, I thoroughly intend in ordering some 12AX7 socket savers, much like that, permanently soldering a couple of those guys into the socket savers to have like a fully just substitute tube, and I could start playing around with it. Because yes, I can see myself seriously using these in phase inverter buffer positions to save myself the cost of a tube in an extraneous position. Especially, there's some older amps that I tinker with that, you know, I don't want to put my good tubes in. Like my old custom reverb. I play my custom reverb. I want tube tone in the preamp, but I don't know if I care about tube tone in the reverb. In fact, let's try that. Let's put the Marshall away, and we're gonna take this experiment. We're gonna try something a bit different. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is my Traynor Custom Reverb. And one problem that it has is it has 6 12AX7s in it. That's an expensive retube. And in some of those positions, they're not gonna really affect your tone that much. It only has 3 tubes that are actually in the signal chain, depending on how you use your reverb. Probably best to put this guy upside down. So flipped upside down and backwards, and oh my, I don't know that I can get my good camera at the right angle to see what I'm doing. We have the 6 tubes. These 2 are the preamp. It's 2 channels. We got the first stages of the 2 channels in that tube. The second stages of the 2 channels on the second tube. Right now, I think I have some electro harmonics in there. And then at the end here is the phase inverter, and that's the other tube. Tungsol 12AX7. It's one of my favorite phase inverter tubes. That's the other tube you want to be a good tube if you want all tube signal chain. But then you have these 3 tubes here. Now, as an example, the tremolo circuit is not in your signal chain. I believe that's this one here. I got an old worn out Mesa 12AX7. In fact, the tremolo circuit is a great place to use up old worn out tubes because, well, they just have to work. It doesn't even matter if they're microphonic. So, you know, aside from that, you know, continuing to do that, what happens if I replace it with these transistors? Gotta figure what way's up here. I can barely see in there. Okay. So I've replaced the tube in the tremolo circuit. Let's see if the tremolo is gonna work properly. What is this noise? Tremolo works just fine. I find it's going slower now though. When I turn the speed down, it's hitting a slower stride than it did before, and then the high, when I turn it up, it's not going as high. So that's interesting. That's one thing that might be changing. Now, to be honest, I'm not too concerned with the tremolo circuit. Because the tremolo circuit, like I said, I could pretty much just chuck any old tube in there, any old worn out tube that I don't give a crap about, and it's gonna work. So we'll put this Chinese Mesa back into place. What concerns me more is the reverb circuit, because those are 2 tubes that you want to be good tubes. You kind of want them to be the same kind of tubes you'd use in your phase inverter. So like a Sovtech 5751 or a Tungsol 12AX7. Ow, that fricker is running hot. Now I'm actually using some old worn out Sovtech 12AX7 LPSs in there right now. These are some of the first tubes that I ever bought a very long time ago to retube my first tube amp. They still work, but they don't sound as good these days. And I don't want to commit any of my other good tubes to this position. So how about the nice clean transparency of a transistor? Again, I can't friggin' see in there. So aside from the fact that I'm thoroughly expecting I didn't make a good connection in there because it's really hard to get in there, I almost feel like I'd have to take this out or wait till I get the socket savers. Well, let's try it. I feel like one of those positions runs a bit hot though. At what point do things get overloaded? The reverb is definitely working. that's interesting. There's a bit of distortion. Let's make sure, there's no way to tell if I actually got those in there correctly. Inadvertently turned it into an overdrive circuit. Now we have to remember that these things do drive more gain, but I feel like they're not making a good connection. Maybe, you know, once I get some socket savers, because they're loose in there. You kind of have to jam them in there, like not in the socket itself, but on the corner edge of it. Like these pins are entirely too small to get a good connection. So I almost feel like one tube here is doing all the work. On the other hand, the sound of these things is so bright and harsh. I don't know if I'm liking what I was hearing out of that reverb. It's almost like it was too bright. And then that with the increased slowed speed of the tremolo, maybe I won't want to use these in these positions. Maybe for the reverb on this, I want the warmth of tube, unless I revoice the circuit, but that's breaking the rules right there. I don't want to go there. I also feel like there's a little bit of interference. Maybe we should shield these guys. Now let's try that again. I tried to see if I could fit them a bit better. Yeah, the reverb's barely working at all now. We could be all day trying to tinker with these connections, I think. Oh, I got it back. Yeah, it's still having that buzzy, distorted effect. Okay, maybe we call it a fail for reverb. Or maybe it's not a good reverb driver or reverb recovery. Which position is the problem? I do not know. But either way, this is not configured right. And older circuits like this were a little less optimized. They were, you know, a little bit more depending on abusing the tube, so they might not be running these guys to their proper capacity. We'll go ahead, stick tubes back at those positions, but we will try one more thing while we have this amp out, and we'll just straight up replace the preamp tubes with them. See what a clean tone out of these guys sounds like. These holes are so loose though. Yeah, these do not feel like good connections. All right, they're in. Reverb's still turned on, eh? I'm not making good connections here. Huh. It's more disappointing than when I was doing with the Marshall. The sparkle's gone, even though they're technically supposed to be sounding brighter. And I lost connection again. whatever. I'm over it. I need to get those socket savers in stock and get these things properly mounted into something resembling a tube socket so that I could just plug them into an amp and then hear what they really can do in amps with hard to reach places like this one, because this is not being cooperative, this guy. These sockets are old and they're loose. But yeah. If you think you can do this without getting electrocuted or starting a fire, I highly recommend trying this because it is at the very least fun. And at 69 cents a piece, or not even 64 cents. I got mine from Mauser, not that I'm endorsing Mauser, that's just where I happen to have placed my order. LND 150, the N3G is the specific part number, and the PO2 I think is just how they package, because they come in reels and different ways of packaging them for, you know, because they have automated machines that might install these on a circuit board and they have to come packaged a certain way for the machine to be able to feed it, like a magazine. Ammo pack, bolt, cut reel tape, blah, 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 blah. I just ordered the LND 150 N3G and I got this fun. And you can see in Canadian dollars, they're a whole 64.9 cents each. We're really breaking the bank for the kind of fun we can have with these things. So yeah, transistors at a tube amp, as good as it is bad. In some positions they work well, in some positions they do not. You can't just change them all out, it just goes to crap. And well, they can be used to augment your tone, much like changing your tubes can. So, worth a try? Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, because I like to tinker on the tube amps sometimes, so stay tuned for more. I never thought I'd see the day. I knew it existed. Like, it only made sense that they'd probably make a MOSFET that could handle these settings, but damn, just pop them in there and go, eh? Wow.